I am unashamed. What about you?
So, Dad, as we talked about on the last podcast, is on his way to, I guess, Houston, to speak at Dusty Hill, the ZZ Top guitarist, his funeral, which was really a neat thing. We were talking about it yesterday on the podcast. Mom and Dad, I can tell he's like really honored. So, in his place, since he's so irreplaceable, because he's Phil. I decided to invite Mom and Mom's sister for the first time. Aunt Ann is in the house. Aunt Ann, everybody meet Aunt Ann. She's she's the older sister, but she actually gets around better than Mom.
Thanks, Al.
We
want that noted.
Yep. I mean, is it not true, Aunt Ann?
It is. What about this?
I know, a new bandage. Is that something else we can? So
there's another one.
She's got another one on her arm.
All right, so more injuries for Mom. So first of all, this is the first time you've made a public appearance, other than your, I guess, TMZ interview. But this first time you've been out since the Bobo episode. So our fans have been praying for you and asking about you all the time. So tell everybody how you're doing and how's Bobo? Bobo still?
You look like you've made a miraculous recovery.
It really, I can hardly even tell.
Yeah. Well, that little hunk is out. Just so you know, I had it in a Ziploc bag at the hospital. Really? And the doctor said, "What is that?" I said, "It's the part he pulled out of my lip."
So were you thinking he might could sew that?
Yeah, I said, I thought, I took it. He said,
like a finger.
He said, Miss Kay, you've watched a lot of TV about things like this.
Yeah, this ain't ER.
A famous story somewhere. Well, we better not
get off on that.
Well, so I said, I thought you could use it to fill in. He said, no, not in this case. He said, maybe if it had been an arm or a leg or a finger or something like that, but this little bitty chunk of lip is useless. He just took it and chunked it in the trash can.
So
making me nauseous.
Well,
it's nothing like eating a Chick-fil-A biscuit.
How do you make the decision during this trauma for somebody to say, get the lip?
Well, it was just laying there after the thing, and I thought, I've seen it on a lot of shows that they can fill in, so
reattach it.
Yeah, reattach it. And he said, too many TV shows, Miss Kay, we can't do that.
So there were a couple of things in your favor from what I understand. So since now I've learned more about what happened because Lisa was there. So the ER doc was going to stitch you up, but then there was a surgeon on call who happened to be in the hospital.
That's correct.
And then when he heard who was down there, he came down and took over and sewed you up, right?
Right, he did.
So you got like a little extra, not that the ER doc probably wasn't great, but you got like an actual surgeon.
I did.
Yeah.
I needed a surgeon.
You did. And he did a good job.
Yeah, he did.
So no pain or nerve
What do you think?
No, I mean right now.
No.
I obviously knew it was painful.
Take off part of your lip and see if it hurts.
I mean, right now, are you pain-free?
Mom kind of come in with a little bit of attitude today. I guess it's from sitting in Dad's chair. She's got a little spunk to her.
Well, I have to keep up with y'all.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually, if you mash it, those two places, it is still a little bit sore. But other than that, it's
all
not
your
sore
stitches are gone. Is that right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
It was so funny because when they were sticking out, it just looked like white hairs in my lip.
I know, and I kept having the urge to just reach over and just pluck it a little bit. It
Everybody did.
I know. Why is that? Why would anybody want to do that? That's really
not me.
I wasn't gonna do it, but I kind of want to say, man.
Well,
you got a little something right there.
You don't have hairs going out of your lips.
But so now, but you don't have any like nerve. You feel everything and all that. No problem.
I'm fine now. I just have a chunk missing.
Well, Dad said on the podcast when we were talking about that he thought you should get a little Botox. Now I don't know how he even knows what Botox is.
He heard it on TV. He's heard that on TV. Has no idea about it.
But you're really done now, right? You're not.
No. I decided. They said I could go to plastic surgery and have it fixed perfect.
Yeah.
But I've decided, because we have somebody that's had trouble with their mouth of older times, and she's done much, and she is perfect, and I want to be not perfect. I want to
Well,
be just who I am.
You and me are very close. Y'all do stuff up together all the time, so it is kind of neat, I guess.
Well, I hadn't told her. I just decided that because, and then somebody in the family said, "Well, somebody said you may do some commercials, and they would want your lip fixed." And I said, "Well, if they want me, they get me and the broke lip, or not me."
Well,
I don't think anybody's going to notice.
no. In fact,
I mean,
the commercials we would do would be for pain and being broken down anyway at your age, so we don't have to worry about
Right
that.
on, Alan.
So the more,
man, the first time somebody came up to me and said, "Your nose is crooked," that was a couple years ago. And
Yeah.
I looked in the mirror and I thought, it is. Because I've had my nose broken like 5 times, I guess, in my life. But
Well,
I didn't even
Speaking
notice.
about people with accidents, it isn't just me.
who else is it?
Well, Jason had his nose broke 5 times. I mean,
Well, Jase,
I didn't know where
look,
you were going.
I didn't either.
I didn't
You threw me
either.
there.
I didn't
So
either.
when Jase was growing up, there's no doubt he was hands down the hurt the most. Like he went to the ER more than any of the other boys.
and thanks, Jace, because we had no insurance, We had to pay that out.
I found that out later when I wrecked that truck. Took me 5 years. Me and you paid that off.
Yeah.
There's a reason it's against the law not to have insurance. But Kay was like, if you don't have it, if you don't have the money to get it, you don't have it.
But so I told the story before on the podcast, but Mom's on here now, so I won't tell the whole story. But I told the story about that time I was driving that car you had from Melissa,
Yeah.
that little white Ford.
Yeah.
My car was down, so I borrowed it. Well, you didn't tell me that it had no insurance, and I got pulled over by a Monroe cop, and they took the car. They impounded the car and left me sitting on the side of the road.
That's what they're supposed to do.
I know. I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I'm just saying I was like, and I had no idea. I was like, well, this isn't my car. He said, well, you're responsible. You're driving it. And so they took it. So I don't know what that cost. Probably a lot to get that out of impound.
$400, $400 or $500. When we were poor,
I know one thing. It was August in Louisiana,
Yeah.
and I was sitting on the side of the road.
That was
with
hot,
a
wasn't it?
box of videos. I was on my way to the hospital. I was on a mission of mercy.
We've all had those moments.
yeah.
Hey.
How about laying out at VJ's, Jace? And
What do you-
Daddy assessing blame before we called the ambulance.
What's your lie about? We were poor.
But nobody knows what that meant. That's when I had the wreck, which was right by a store. That's you pretty much have to go by to get out of here.
Right. Well, that
And
was
y'all just happened to be coming along, I believe, or did y'all get a call? I was
no.
back.
I think they called them.
They called.
Yeah.
So y'all rushed up there, and there I was, all bloody, laying on the side.
And then Phil said, "What caused this?" I mean, I'm like, "Shut up! We got to call the hospital, get him up there.
Yeah.
Quit. You can accept blame later."
What's ironic is Jase and I typically every day we rode in together to school, but that
Yeah.
day I was sick, and Jase was by himself. When
and I had just gotten new tires.
yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to get new tires on the truck. And so I just bought those tires. Lifespan was about 20 minutes.
That's
I hadn't
cool,
heard
Jay.
that.
I know. I hadn't heard that.
Well, they
too.
said when I woke up in the hospital or whatever, I said, did somebody get those tires?
That was your first thought.
And they thought, oh, he hasn't recovered over the
Yeah.
Well, we
whatever.
told the story because Phil, typical dad. Of course, now he kind of is like just kind of hangs his head every time we bring stuff like this up. He was like, assessing blame. His first thing was, why would a man turn right in front of another oncoming vehicle?
Well, he was standing over me. I opened my eyes because I was in and out of consciousness. I had glass all in my head, and I got a big scar
Your chin
on my
was
chin.
cut, yeah.
Yeah, I still have that scar, but the beard hides it. But which I don't, just gave it a little more personality, I thought. But because of what was almost miraculous about it, the reason that I didn't get poked in the eye with glass or anything, because I had a hat on, and I didn't have my seatbelt on, which.
And the people that saw it all happen said you went halfway out the passenger window
I did.
and then back in. I mean,
It spun. The truck spun 8 times, and then I hit a light pole. I mean, that guy hit me with a. He was going over the speed limit,
And he was pulling a trailer.
yeah. I mean, thousands of pounds,
Okay.
and I was in a standard operating
a super
truck.
lightweight pickup too. It's one of those old Chevrolets that was super light.
And I was gonna go, and it kind of stalled, and then he just topped the hill. It's a dangerous place. And
It
there's
is.
been multiple
just
wrecks.
under
Yeah.
a rise. You know?
Yeah.
So I just tried to slam it in gear and gun it, but I put it in second instead of first because it just happened so fast. But at least he didn't hit me head on. So,
Right.
but he hit me, and I just started spinning. So they say. But this cap, Bill, went over my face, and so the only place that wasn't glass sticking out was right in my eyes.
Right where you needed it. Yeah.
Like my chin and neck and ears. I had they removed one big piece of glass while I was laying there out of my ear. I mean, I was bloody. I looked in the mirror, and it was just solid blood because it was draining down from the top of my head.
Yeah.
It looked scary. I thought I was dead.
You weren't.
But when I came to, Phil said, why would a man pull right in front of this? What were you thinking?
Yeah.
And I just acted like I was going back out. 'Cause I thought, I don't want to have this conversation right now. I don't feel real good. I'm not sure all my body parts are attached. I'm not going to answer that question right now.
But the best you could have gotten out of him in that moment was, Jase, I mean, you almost died.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been the best answer, you know, or the best response.
But he said that when I got home.
Yeah.
He said that for about a week.
Yeah.
He's like, do you realize how close to death you were at? I was like, I got it.
I was there.
Because it was an interesting story. I've told it before, but the first person who checked on me was a guy that we had brought to the Lord who had fallen away, or we didn't know his whereabouts. So when I opened my eyes, I saw him, and I
You
thought,
thought you was in hell?
yeah, I said I didn't make it.
I
didn't make it. Dang it.
All that work for nothing.
I was like, I'm so close. I mean, what happened here? Of course, you're kind of delirious and in shock.
It was
I
dramatic.
actually had a meaningful conversation with that fella later. You know, I saw him later on in life, and I used that to get in the conversation whether he had gotten his life straight. Of course, he was like, oh, yeah, that did it for me. You know, I was like, well, who knows? You know, it's hard. But
Maybe it did. So, Mom, that reminded me of the time that you almost died during one of your surgeries a few years back.
That's right.
And Jep was still young because Jep and Dad were at the hospital waiting on you during the surgery.
Worst two people
Yeah,
that
bad
could have
call.
ever been
Lisa
at the
said
hospital.
never again after the incident. But so I had to put you on a ventilator. And,
Right.
And so Dad comes in the ICU room, and the first thing he says is, Miss Kay, you almost died. That was which was about as good as you're going to get.
Well-
He's wondering, why would a woman, code during the surgery? I mean, like,
And then he said, I don't even have, me and Jay, it was me and Jeb don't even have money for a Coke. I mean, have you got any dollars? And
But then
I'm
he's-
like, I can't talk. I'm on a ventilator.
She had a ventilator. And didn't he say, I just want you to know that if anything had happened to you, I've decided I'm not going to remarry.
Yeah.
Which was, Mom just
If
rolled her eyes.
yeah.
If I could have undid those things I was tied to, I would have threw something at him.
So
on
we
that
had a
one.
little pad there for Mom so she could communicate because she was awake and
Well,
aware,
yeah.
but she can't talk.
She couldn't talk.
And then I handed her the thing. She pointed and I handed it to her, and she said, "It's all about him." You remember saying that?
Yeah,
He wrote
yeah.
that on that fast. I showed it to Dad, and he just kind of rolled his eyes. But we've chronicled many times that Dad is not the most compassionate person, although he's mellowing and
Very much so.
He's much better now, I think.
Yeah, and even the way he handled the Bobo incident,
Yeah.
because it would be, immediately my fault. Why would you stick your head in a sleeping dog's face?
Yeah.
He would have said that, and he didn't say that.
No.
he told me that.
Well,
Well, of course, he told it to someone.
he said that later. But the initial thing, he was concerned about you. Let's take our first break. So, Jase, we have a new sponsor, and I am super excited about them. You probably don't know who they are. It's called Alliance Defending Freedom. Have you ever heard of them?
Nope. Tell me.
So it's a group of attorneys, and I don't know how I first met them. Of course, I was aware of them because, every time you see one of these cases where someone's, especially religious freedom or some spiritual situation, their rights are violated, these guys offer to represent. So like the Baker out in Colorado or different people, these cases, they're big cases. They go to the Supreme Court and these guys are with them because what happens is most time the little guy, some brother or sister in Christ, something happens to them. They can't afford attorneys to be able to represent them. So that's what these guys do. And so I went to Lisa and I went to one of their summits they have. And so I got to really know what they are. And I told them, I got to speak to some of them and I said, look, I'm never going to make any more lawyer jokes after meeting you guys. That's how much I was impressed with them. So it was kind of like Gary Glenn. But anyway, we'd love for you guys to. The only way they're funded is by generosity of people. It's a 501c3, so they take donations to be able to do what they do, and that's why they're sponsoring our podcast. And hopefully, you can help them out. I love these guys. Fully endorse them and support them. You go to adflegal.org. That's adflegal.org/Phil. And you're going to get a copy of a book called Generational Wins, and that's free just for going to their website. So join the growing number of Americans that are standing in solidarity. Get your free copy of Generational Wins. That's absolutely free. And help these guys out. I'd love for you to donate. adflegal.org/Phil. So he was concerned, which is really good. Of course, we've laughed about it on the thing because when Tony told me how when y'all stopped by, because he wanted Phyllis to go with you guys.
Yeah.
And of course, she goes to bed early because she's going to work. But the way he did that, he doesn't go out and knock on the door. He just pulls right up to their bedroom window, lights on bright, and starts blowing the horn.
10 horn blows got him out of there.
I mean, at midnight. I mean, I was like, Dad, why would you? He said, well, I mean, I just, was trying to get him up, of course, Phyllis just flew out of there because she knew something was wrong. But Tony was like, he'd be like me.
That'll work.
I mean,
Somebody
it worked.
pulls in my yard and starts blowing the horn at midnight, I'll get up.
With your gun.
I'll have my gun.
Yeah.
We established that on the last podcast. So A&M, for our audience to know, to me, I mean, A&M was like our sanctuary. You were our sanctuary. When we were kids, we've established we didn't have much, and we didn't go anywhere because we didn't go on vacations or do anything like that.
No money. Yeah.
And just,
we were poor.
We were poor. All right. We've established that. So, but we were rich in love, especially when Dad came around. But I used to go over, and I don't know, Jase, do you remember going to A&M's and stuff? So
we went to the country club.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that, I had a guy say something from a famous movie that says, that said, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I'm with my uncle. And he basically said the version of some people don't belong. So
at Vivian Country Club.
I didn't have the right attire on, and I was out getting golf balls out of the bushes where people had hooked them off the
Jase
first
has a
tee.
long history of having country club issues. He's still having them, by the way.
Well, I got out there and thought,
I heard about that.
These people are leaving all these balls in the bushes, and they're just walking on by and just leaving them. So I went and started getting them, and I got accosted because back then I was young.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you need to do this a little more sneakily.
I like after dark.
Yeah, well, that's what I do.
We learned that.
Yeah.
So we would, in our typical wardrobe in those days was a pair of shorts, no shoes, no shirt, no service. I mean, that's the way we were. That's the way we rolled when we were kids. But we used to come over, and they were it was the Vivian Country Club, which looking back at it now is kind of comical to me. That to us, that was like the fanciest. I mean, it was like a modular.
It's how I view the Masters now. I looked around and thought, man, somebody knows how to cut some grass.
Yeah.
I mean, because we'd never even seen cut grass before, because Dad famously doesn't cut grass.
Never.
So, and they had a swimming pool.
Yes.
And so you would take us over every day. And Uncle Wade started kind of working with, he taught us how to swim. He taught me how to dive. I remember that. And then he taught us ultimately how to play golf.
How to play, yeah.
Which was really neat. So I don't know. I just look back on those times. They were so meaningful to me now, just because we had that place to go. And then usually we'd go and I'd stay a week with Nanny as well up in Ida. And so I just, those memories are so still strong after 50 years, of doing that. But, So thanks for taking us all those years.
Well, I loved you boys.
Yeah. Well, it became our Disney World,
Yeah.
It was like, y'all going to Disney World? I was like, I don't know, but there's a place over here where my My Aunt Ann lives. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, then y'all always, from that point forward, like even when you moved away from Vivian, because you weren't on the country club there, but when you moved to Texas, first down around Galveston or wherever, Houston, and then
It was down Houston,
and then
Friendswood.
and then Tyler later, y'all always lived on a golf course. So every time we would come see you, once we got, became adults, we would play golf with Uncle Wade. And he gave me my first set of clubs when I was a teenager. I'll never forget it. I guess you gave them to me, but it was a brand new set of Titleist clubs that he had won in a golf tournament. And he gave them to me. I was a teenager, and then those clubs passed down because, like, as soon as I got some clubs, they went to Jase, and then Jase gave them to Willie, and they just kind of went down the line. But I thought about it. If it hadn't have been for you guys, we probably never would have ever learned how to play golf.
Oh my goodness,
we were never going to do that around here.
No. Well, Phil thought that was silly.
Oh, yeah, it was silly. Well, like mowing the grass.
Yeah.
When he said the frost to get it, I was thinking, do what now? He said, the frost to get it.
Yeah.
And he kept saying that. I said, no, I'm talking about mowing the grass.
Yeah.
He said, the frost will kill the grass. Just give it time.
It's the cycle of the Almighty. So.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, it seems high now, but it'll cool off in a few months. Frost to get it. I thought, oh, you don't like mowing that grass.
Well, once we moved out here, there really was no grass, right? I mean, it's never really, it's just kind of dirt and mud everywhere on your place now.
But Uncle Wade taught us how to play golf. We set up, we dug holes, and we played a version with sticks and balls. That's where I first played golf, was literally a self-made
we
golf
made
course on the river.
On the river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, like I said, you can tell everywhere we lived on a golf course because he did love golf. And I was thankful that he got to play for that many years, enjoyed his retirement.
Right.
he was hilarious to play with. He had his own. He provided his own commentary for where he messed up on it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, "Wade, put your head down." I mean, he'd swing, keep your head down, Wade.
Keep your head down, Wade.
Yeah, it was really comical.
And then Willie and me, all of us kind of got to where we would imitate him, but when we weren't playing. So then, it still carries on because every once in a while we'll be playing, and I'll go, "Oh, keep your head down." I'll go like an Uncle Wade chastisement of myself, which is really funny. But I always appreciated that he took that time with us because you had two daughters.
Yes.
One of them has gone on to be with the Lord, unfortunately, last year, which was a hard year. And but Connie is there. So you had boys for the first time with us, right?
Well, yeah. See, I had the girls and Kay had the boys, so I got y'all.
Yeah. And we've always been close. So
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's been neat, and because Uncle Wade's been gone how many?
6 years.
6 years.
6 years.
And so, but you've been in relatively good health, and so we've gotten to spend a lot of time. You go on vacation with us every year. How long have you been doing that, going to Gulf Shores with us?
20-something years.
Yeah. And so you're the dad replacement because we've established Dad's not going to the beach.
Well, who would want him to go?
Well, one year.
Yeah, that's what everybody
you want
always
him to
asked
go,
me. They were
Jase?
like, how come your dad don't go? I was like, nobody wants him to, including him. He don't want to go.
He don't want to go.
We don't want him
and we
there.
don't want him there.
Well, see, Wade never wanted to go like that. So that's why Kay and I have always gone places together.
Yeah. I'm not really a beach guy, but I do go just
We noticed
for the
that,
family,
Jase, every year.
And when you see me on the beach, well, I do a few things. I fish down there. And this year I actually metal detected a little bit, which was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But I don't like the hot sand and the salt water and the creatures I don't like being in close proximity to things that can get
What
me.
about roasted in the sun? You like that, don't you?
Not at all. I assume that. And the fact that mostly women just do it on purpose, I just don't get it. They're like, oh, this is awesome. Just roasting in the sun. I always just think of the little rotisserie with chickens going around. And I think, why would you want to do that on purpose? Now, if I was a chicken, you had no choice. But if I'm a human, I'm not just going to roast out here in the sun. Not going to do it.
Well, up until out of all those years, up until the last 2 years, Aunt Ann always took our yearly golf picture of the guys because we play golf all week when we're down there. And then do family stuff as well. But Aunt Ann was always in charge of that. And it was great because she would always remind us. But then 2 years ago, because of COVID, y'all didn't get to go.
Yeah.
and then, or maybe mom was sick.
I was
It
sick.
was her surgery.
Oh, her surgery.
And I stayed home, took care of her. and
Right, you
everybody
stayed
else
here.
Went. Yeah.
And then this past year, of course, we had the Bobo incident. So you went, but you couldn't really do the stuff you normally do because you had to stay out of the sun. And all.
Well, the doctor said, "Don't you dare get that lips burned because then you'll have trouble on top of trouble."
And of course, Willie hadn't been the last 2 years either because of various things. So it's different now. And so I said we had a tradition for a long time, but it finally broke.
did.
It's okay.
Well, I will say that that he said he was going to take care of me when he didn't, and I will say 4 days he brought me lunch down
He sure
that he
did.
made.
Right.
It was delicious.
Well,
so he didn't lie about that. He did help take care of me.
His family's gotten so big now, and we're having a lot of babies right around
Yes, they
vacation
are.
time, so they had to stay home. So I want to talk a little bit about. Let's take another break. I want to talk a little bit about y'all growing up in Ida,
knew that was
Louisiana,
Yeah.
because Aunt Ann's got a great memory. Mom, sometimes
Well, I don't know.
sometimes you're wondering, is it real? Did that really happen?
And you'll never know.
No.
So what
Nobody-
you were in?
Well, that's why you're here to let us know.
That's right. You're supposed to be passing stuff along.
If you can remember.
True. If I can, I'll make it up.
Okay.
So tell us about the Caraway's Grocery, because your parents. Was that a second generation store for them, or who started the store and all that?
Papa, what? No.
Yeah, well, someone had it, and then Papa, our father's father, bought it, and then Daddy and his brother ran it.
Okay.
And then our first cousin ran it.
And that was kind of the place
After
to
they
be.
died, yeah.
That was kind of the place to be back then.
It was
right?
the only place to be.
You got one store.
Well, basically Ida is a crossroads,
Right.
and it used to have a flashing light. Now they have an actual light.
They have
up
an
there.
actual stoplight there.
And so right on the corner is this old building that was built in the 20s.
Mm-hmm.
On the side of it says 26 or 27. We're not sure.
Yeah.
That's what it says. Built in 27 or 26 or whatever. We're not sure. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, they were letting you know. But so yeah, and so some of our memories coming. We were kids. They still are. Your cousins still ran the store, and so we would go hang out there and get a snack or whatever. But so what else did y'all just hang out there?
Well, I want to tell this part.
Yeah.
Anne, with her older than me age, she actually had to go in and really work like our parents did. I mean, she did the register, she did everything.
Dad made me.
Yeah, she worked like a slave.
Even on Saturdays, he would make me go in and work at the store, and all my friends were going to Vivian swimming.
Oh yeah.
So when I came along 8 to 10 years later,
You need to let that go, Ada.
I used to, when I came in
I
8
have.
years later to be in the store, I never physically worked. But my job, which I made it up myself, there was a lot of older women and they were so lonely and they would love to just hang out at that store because they didn't have anywhere else to go.
Yep.
And it had an old timey heater. You remember that you could burn
And
yourself.
there was no
on.
air conditioning.
No,
We had a giant fan.
Giant
And the
fan.
fan.
Blew. Yeah.
So what I do is go over there and entertain the old women. I told story after story after, and
they
you
just
know,
loved it. They just
yeah,
ate
and
it
I
up.
mean, I run out of real stories, so I went to making them up. But they loved them. I had them laughing all the time, and I said, "Well, I'll just be the entertainment of the store," which some people got mad because they had to work.
See who she's pointing to.
and I got to entertain
And you've been entertaining ever since, Mom.
ever since, and that's why I have no back trouble because I never did a lot of physical work.
At least she's honest, Al.
That's true.
Well, who has physical back problems?
Yeah.
So there's 8 years difference
8
between
years,
y'all. And so you when you left to go home to go to college, right?
Right.
And is that where you met Uncle Wade in
Yes,
college?
in college, yeah.
So
Northwestern.
with that big gap, you were gone, but Mom was still young, right? So when you left to go to college, how were you, Mom?
I can't figure all that math.
Yeah, who would know that, Al? I mean,
I would know that.
Well, she was still little when Wade and I got married, in the wedding pictures.
Okay.
It was Kay,
Well, she never liked me when I was little, but I didn't like her either. Because
And now
every
y'all
time,
like best friends.
That's right, exactly. But just because I got a spotlight when she was out kissing her boyfriend on the front
love that.
porch, and I put the spotlight on him, and then I just
Then she'd go tell Mom.
Yeah, I would run like the devil. And then other things I did, I went through all her shoes. I wore them while she was gone. I went in every drawer she had, tore it up. I was really not a very nice little
She was
kid.
a spoiled brat. That's what she was.
Because see, when she wasn't at the store telling all these stories, she was up at Nanny's house.
Yeah.
And Nanny just spoiled her rotten. That's where she stayed. But that's where she learned how to cook, too. You know, Nanny.
I love
taught
it
her how-
that your grandchildren and great grandchildren call you Nanny now.
Yeah,
it's kind of a
our
tradition.
grandmother was Nanny.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah, we were Nanny and Papa.
Yeah.
And see, that's the same as ours.
Right, which is cool.
And the kids picked them out. I mean, you know.
They called you that 1st. Yeah.
Well, it's the names like my oldest daughter. They called her Poppy. Now, where that came from, I don't know, but it stuck. You know, Poppy.
Yeah.
That's what my grandkids call Jay's dad is Poppy.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know. We don't know that either.
Yeah.
It's BB and Poppy.
Yeah.
And they had picked out something they wanted them to do, but
Well,
Carly got the first crack at it.
That's right.
It was BB and Poppy. So,
Yeah.
which is interesting about kids, right?
Yeah, they do their own thing. Whatever.
So I guess everything for y'all's family changed because when your dad died.
Yes.
And tell us about that, because you were married in a
Yes,
way, and
living
you
away.
were 14, right?
They got me off the school bus right in front of the store. I had to ride the school bus to North Caddo, and I couldn't drive yet. And when she got me off, it was our next door neighbor, and I said, "Why are you getting me off the bus? I ride it home." And she said, "Well, we got some problems I got to talk to you about." And so I just said, "What are you talking about?"
Who was this person?
My next door neighbor, Clifford Childress.
Okay.
Okay. And so then I just thinking something's wrong. Well, in my mind, I'm thinking maybe it's my grandma, Nanny, because she was older and everything. So before she got to the house, she said, "I got to stop a minute and tell you something really bad." And I said, "What is it?" And she said, "Your daddy died today of a massive heart attack in Shreveport. And your mother's not home because she was so shook up. She called people to come get her, but she told the wrong hospital every time. I mean, there was like 3 hospitals in Shreveport. They couldn't find her. And so I went home, and it looked like 50 cars there. They were everywhere. And so that I went in, and there was nobody in my family. I just walked in, and I just went in there to where his chair was and sat down. And I couldn't
You're
even
just
cry.
kind of in shock.
Yeah, I was in shock because I wasn't even crying because I said, he did not die.
Yeah.
I said, so that's somebody else.
I never heard that. I never knew that there was nobody there.
Nobody.
It was just all people from town. Of course, I guess everybody
That was
knew
the
him.
church, too,
Yeah.
people and all. But I was just
Well,
like,
God
nobody.
bless them for coming over, so
Yeah.
you weren't alone. But
I
still,
know.
I mean, that would be hard to not have anybody.
Nanny
family.
wasn't even there. Nobody was at home, so they had to get everybody.
And Nanny was his mom, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
So
was
how did you get the news, Ann?
Well, they called us.
Where were you living at the
We
time?
were living in El Paso.
Yeah.
And when I got the call, we had gone to White Sands, New Mexico, for the day with another couple. And they called and told us. So, and Yvonne was little.
Yeah.
See, she was the only one of the grands that Daddy ever got to know.
Yeah.
And so we had to fly home.
Right.
for it.
Was it just as terrible as you can imagine? Were you just in shock?
Well,
or-
I was in shock too, but being so far away.
and you'd been away a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he was only what, 40?
49 years old.
Wow. I mean, that's Jason and I are both older than
And
that.
see, his brother was born with a heart defect, and they never expected him to live, and he lived till in his 70s, and Daddy didn't have that. 49, dropped
He wasn't
dead.
overweight, but he did smoke
Yeah.
Unfiltered cigarettes.
Camels.
Yep.
That was kind of the thing for his time, right?
Yeah.
Let's take another break. Yeah, well, it's always affected me because we got so much time with Dad's parents because they lived here.
Right.
And then, of course, I was super close to Nanny,
Yeah.
and then even your mom, although it was interesting because by the time I have enough memories of your mom, of my grandmother, we called her Banny, by the time I have no memories of her, she had already kind of gone off the deep end.
Yeah, she was.
Because she just didn't do well after he died,
No.
right?
No, she was in a state of shock.
She was quite a bit younger than him. Is that right? A few years?
She would know
She
that.
well. Don't throw that out. I'm like you with the dates. I would have had to figure that one, but she was younger,
Yeah.
but not that many years.
Okay.
I mean, maybe
She was
a
probably in her
couple.
40s. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just remember by the time we came along, now I loved her. Because you talking about fun.
Oh,
Because I
yeah.
didn't realize that she was like drinking the whole time.
Yeah, that's why she was so fun.
But I mean, do you remember, Jase? Do you remember Betty at all?
No.
You
Yeah.
don't?
Well,
No.
Looney Tunes are fun sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she would like run off the road. Of course, it was me and Connie and Yvonne mostly.
Yeah.
And I-
When she ran off the
Jase
road.
was probably
with the
there
nanny.
just little. Yeah, she'd run off the road and then she would be like, "Don't tell anybody," you know.
Yeah.
We were like, she was drinking the whole time, and
Nobody
like
knew
nobody really knew what was
No.
happening. But I just thought she was a barrel of laughs. You
Yeah.
know, she would take us out and go down the street, and she was the marching band. You know, and we would all be traipsing along behind her singing.
Sounds
In the
dangerous.
middle of the road.
In the middle of the road
Yeah.
at night when the Saints go marching in. So once again, it's only God's providence could have helped us survive.
That's
every
right.
day.
That's right.
And she died of cirrhosis of the liver, and she was only in her 50s.
58.
Yeah. And so, which was tough. And then Nanny died right before
Yeah.
that. So that was hard because that basically cut off, other than Aunt Ann, that cut off any connection to that side
Yeah,
of the
with
family.
our side of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of y'all left. It is interesting because I call you guys the Baldwin sisters. If anybody's old enough to remember the Waltons,
Yeah.
there was the two sisters on there that I think they had a still. They were moonshiners.
I think so.
And
It's called the recipe.
The recipe, that's right. And that's what reminds me of y'all because
Yeah.
just two fun ladies that like to go and have fun, right?
That's exactly right.
That's us.
We're not dull. And one lady told me I was so funny I should have my own show.
I know. You are funny, Mom.
And here you are.
And here you
And
are.
here you
You're
are.
on our show.
Oh, I know.
You're in Dad's spot.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I told Phil that I said, well, I might be overweight a little and, getting older,
And
but I
missing
make
some of
him
your
laugh.
lip.
Yeah, and missing some of my lip, but I make him laugh. I make him laugh every day of his life. He's not bored.
Yeah. I'll agree with that.
Jace, at least she's unique now with her lip.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is Kay brought that up, but you look perfectly normal. So I don't.
I think
do.
so
people are
too.
gonna know.
I mean,
think so,
really
too.
can't even tell.
People are not going to know.
Nobody,
No.
if you didn't know,
no
they
one would
never know.
notice.
Never
Yeah.
notice.
I tell you, when I have an accident, I do it good so it can just come back perfect.
Yeah.
Well, every time I see you have a new bandage on or a new bruise, so
Well, speaking of that, which child did I have that I had to take to the hospital the most times? He's right over there.
yes, that's what I'm saying. He was so accident prone. A couple of things happened to me when I was young. I cut this eye open,
Yeah.
and then a deer mount fell on my head.
I do remember
and
that.
busted. I don't even remember the traumatic things around 3 or 4 years old. But Jase was like, it seemed like every year it was a broken arm, it was a broken whatever. He got shot in the side of the head out of the.
Well, I told you not to put your head over that burning trash in the barrel. You were looking for
Playing
something.
the role of Phil will be
It
Kate.
actually shot me from about 40 yards away. So I was
Jay.
We were on the basketball court.
Yeah, we were
And the
actually
trash barrel
on the
was
way.
right on the other side of the basketball court. That thing went pow, and Jase just dropped like a sack of potatoes. We all started looking around. What just
What
happened?
happened?
Yeah, it was just
And there was a little
freak.
trickle of blood coming out of his temple.
a freak accident.
Yeah.
I remember feeling kind of woozy.
Well, do you remember the time I told you not to get that close? We were at the gym watching the basketball games.
No, that you got that story all wrong. It's there was a bully there, and we had tried to whoop the bully. So we got all the guys who had any kind of courage, and because this guy was like 18 in the 5th grade, not really, but
Yeah.
he was
He
so much
appeared that
bigger.
way.
He kept repeating,
Yeah.
and he was a bully. And so we went out there one day and tried to whoop him. And that didn't work. He whipped every one of us standing in one spot. Just bam. We walk over, bam, bam. So then just the next few days, he was just kind of acting like a sniper and picking us off one by one. And I was sitting on the top step of the bleacher, and he just come up there and pushed me off. He just, that's how that happened.
Now, see, I didn't know that. I thought you just were showing how brave you were to get that close to the edge.
Well, I was close to the edge, but he came up and pushed
Just
me off.
pushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so another trip to the hospital, right? It was. I
another
know it
yard
was
trip.
three in
Just-
a. I know it was 3 in a row. So what was number
Well, most
3?
parents would say, just say no to bullying. They wouldn't say, how come you were so close to the edge? I'm like, well.
Did I see him bullying? I didn't know that.
No.
You didn't tell me.
Well,
that.
I think I told that story, but y'all didn't believe it. But
Well,
it actually was true.
When I hear that now, Jase, I'd laugh too because I mean, bullying it's been around forever. People act like now, oh, this new thing about people getting online bullying, meaning somebody's talking bad about you. So our bullies actually beat us up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They pushed me off a bleacher and sent me to the hospital. Yeah.
This online version of it, I'm not, obviously I don't want people to do that, but I'm saying there was more than just your feelings getting hurt.
Right,
We literally
yeah.
got hurt from the bullying.
But I remember this, and I don't know which one it was of y'all, but I know it was probably Willie and Jep did this. But I thought y'all, and I sure thought you did it, got a friend that was, because yours was that big old boy that played on the football team.
Bubba.
I thought y'all got kind of, your own people to fight the bullies.
Well, you figured it out. But at that stage, no friends could beat this guy. I mean, he was just a beast. I remember the first time I read "Love Your Enemies" in the Bible. That kid's picture headshot went in my head because I hated that guy because I was like, I just couldn't whoop him. We tried everything known to man. He was just.
I know
twice
we
as
got
big.
put out of the carnival that night because you got in a fight. I mean, they asked me to leave the carnival and take him with
Were
me.
you barking for the tilt-a-whirl? What were you?
No,
were you working?
What had happened?
Were you guessing
that
people's
was-
weights?
That was a different occurrence.
Put out of the carnival.
Well, a guy came
We
up.
were.
A guy came up and slapped me in the face, and
For no reason?
no
I mean,
reason,
Just came up.
and slapped me, and so I chased him and caught him, and then we just got into a scrum. This is before the carnival, and so we just because then the principal came out, so we all got whipped. So we said, I tell you what, the carnival is tonight. So let's do this right. And so we had our teams. It was 4 against 4. And so we got to the carnival. We walked behind the gym. Well, the problem was 2 of our friends didn't show.
Oh,
so
boy.
it was 4 on 2.
Oh boy!
Oh, yeah.
And me and old Dwayne got whooped.
Well, if anybody asked me who fought the most of all my kids, I would have. I mean, it would seem so strange to say it was Jason.
It doesn't surprise me at all because I mean it's just personality. I mean, just it makes people want to just come over and beat the crap out of him. That's just the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where
What
he
can
is.
you say?
What can you say?
Can I say?
Let's take our last break.
It's all because I tell people what I think. I don't sugarcoat things. They ask
Which
me
I like
questions.
that. I like people that just tell it straight. So I have no issue with Jase.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I don't like violence, so I would tell us whatever they wanted to hear. I'm
you
just
would
not a violent person.
You're not. You're one of the least violent people I know. Although when we were young and when you got riled up, I mean, she was more dangerous than dad because with dad, you knew what was going to happen. It was the belt. It was the same process. But mom would just grab whatever was handy.
Yeah.
And it became the tool by which she would mete out the discipline. I mean, it could be a pan. It could be
It sounds horrible, but since you were so small, we were really not in danger.
we were. That's true. That's right.
I never
Why
felt.
did you lock me out of the house and then run out the back door and made me chase y'all all the way up the hill, and then I run out of gas?
You never figured out it was a system involved. We rigged that back door where it wouldn't close, where all you had to do, because you could hit it running wide and open. And we just were quicker. So if that was always the exit strategy. The reason I locked you out of the house is because I was fixed to whoop Willie. I locked the doors. I mean, it really wasn't. It was to keep him in.
Yeah.
And,
Well, obviously,
and
to
barricade
keep
Because
me
he
out.
didn't want him pulling out the back door trick,
Well,
so he locked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was fixed to whoop him for something. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure.
Trust me, he needed it.
I agree with that. So Jase, a Sunday in my sermon, I had a point in there that the evil one was an instigator of disunity, which he is. He loves to instigate disunity among the brothers. And I said, and then I confessed. I said, all right, I'm going to start this with a confession because when I was young, and Jase and Willie were only 2 years apart, so they were ripe for disunity because it's just natural because of their age.
They came out.
And so
not
I
liking
was an
each other.
instigator. I would create scenarios to put them in situations where they would fight it out. And then, of course, whenever the discipline happened, I was shocked, that I don't know what's wrong with them, but I was kind of pulling the puppet strings,
You know what you call that? Sneaky snake. That's who you were, sneaky snake.
But so everybody laughed when I said it. I said, he said, that's terrible because you're talking about the evil. And I said I was confessing. I mean, I'm not proud of it. It's just I got some perverse pleasure out of watching them get disciplined.
I never thought he did bad, though, did I? He fooled me completely.
You always took up for him. There was 2 or 3 spankings I got that I had nothing to do. I did not know the crime, and I wasn't there. But, when you're a kid, you say that, they think you're lying.
Yeah.
So I always say I never got one that I didn't deserve. But Jay said, nope, not me. That's
I got 2 or 3 that I wasn't any part of it.
Yeah.
So,
But see, it didn't hurt you one bit. Look at you now.
well, I learned to forgive through only the grace of God.
That's exactly
which
right.
trickled down,
Yes.
which is true.
It is true.
You gotta become followers of Jesus and sons and daughters of God in spite of your parents, and that sounds horrible. But it's true that we're all make mistakes and we're all flawed. I mean, I've said that same thing to my kids. I'm like, because I'll look back on something I did wrong, and I'm like, you know what? I was wrong on that. You're going to have to overcome this despite me doing that.
Right.
And so I was just, the difference is I went ahead and just owned it. I just said, yeah, that was a bad move.
So I was talking to our mutual friend, Jersey Joe, who picked Ann up the other day and brought her over. Great guy. They moved here from New Jersey back during COVID. And I was telling a story, and it was kind of like we're talking about today, that us being poor and we didn't have this, that, and the other. I was probably talking about coming to your house.
Right.
And, he said, Al, he said, I've heard y'all tell stories before about it. He said, but you don't realize for a guy like me, he said, we had stuff. His parents had divorced and, they would give him things to try to kind of favor, curry favor. He said, so we had stuff, but he said, you don't realize what you guys had. He said,
right.
you were rich in love and you did things together and you pulled together. And he was like, I envy your childhood.
Yes.
And it was really interesting to hear him say that because he listens to the podcast, so he's heard our stories. But I thought that was a great perspective.
Yes.
I'm thankful for being humble, coming
too.
from humble circumstances. I think even when you negotiate, in the business world, it's always helped me because I thought, well, I'm not going to be intimidated by somebody threatening to not do this order, like when I used to work with Walmart with the duck calls, because I thought, well, we've proven you can be joyous with nothing.
Yeah.
So, but in the real world, they use all this material thing as leverage,
Right.
and if you're not bent by that,
But since there's not like it is now where you're constantly watching what you don't have on TV, your kids watch TV and there's commercials.
Right.
We didn't have any of that. So we didn't know. We thought our lives were great. And we thought you guys were richy rich.
Yeah.
I mean, we go to your house.
we didn't think it was great. It was great.
It was great.
You
I
were
mean,
the Rockefellers.
that's
Yeah,
right.
right.
I mean, they have a country club. They have air conditioning,
Yeah.
it's
But
just
it
like-
was nice that I always remember that. It was like a big trip.
It was exciting. It was kind of like our thing every year we look forward to was
Sure.
coming over to spend it with
Y'all
you.
probably wasn't thinking, boy, we're rich and well off.
No.
Well, they were just he worked in the oil field. I mean, y'all did okay. You were middle
And
class,
I
upper
always
middle
work
class.
too, see.
It's all about perspective. Because
It
to
is.
us, I was like, boy, we're living it up here at the old Vivian Country Club.
A real pool, not a pond.
Yeah, you didn't have to push stuff out of the way. It was just clear water. You
Clear
just
water.
That was the first thing I said. I said, how'd they get that water this clear? We swam in the river.
That's right. Well, you had to in the summertime. You had to go down about 5 feet before you found cool water.
Yeah.
That top part's just hot. You got to get down there deep.
But so much of what we talked about, talked about near-death experiences and people in our family, who have gone on to be with the Lord. I thought about this verse we've been studying in Romans 14. It says, for none of us lives to himself alone, and none of us dies to himself alone. Because all we've been talking about is family, despite our mistakes and being there for each other. If we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. So whether we live or die, we belong to the Lord. For this reason, Christ died and returned to life, so that he might be the Lord of both the dead and the living. But I just thought about that verse because I thought really what binds us together and what's made, I think, us tight to this day was our focus on the Lord, despite all the difficulties and material possessions, and even ones that died before they should have, and ones that have miraculously stayed alive longer than we expected.
That's exactly right.
Wayne and Paul.
Yeah.
When Aunt Ann used to send us a birthday card, all the nephews every year, and she'd have a little $5 bill or something in there. And that made such a difference because we just never had any money. And so, I mean, that I always look so forward to getting that from you. And so I've told you this before, and now we found some success later in life, which God's blessed us, and to get to share things back with you.
Yes.
You know, after you shared so much with us. I mean, it's a pay it forward, you know, and so that's one of my great blessings. You know?
Well, y'all have been such a blessing to me, especially when Uncle Wade passed away.
Right. Yeah.
Because that was a hard time, and I had y'all and had her.
That's right. And still do.
Still do.
So, Mom, you got a verse there. We're kind of about out of time, but share with
You
us.
brought your own verse?
You brought your
I
own
like it.
I like it.
I want you to read it.
Oh.
If you can.
Good
Well, I
grief.
didn't want to
This
wear
is
my. I
already
have to
good.
get my glasses.
Oh, okay.
All right. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. I like that.
It's a verse I've quoted in many a speech because look at me. I like that verse.
Thank you. And see, the Lord gave it to me because there was a reason. I did not know what the reason was. Now I know.
Now you know.
Yeah, makes me feel better about life.
So, Aunt Ann, we love you and so glad to have you on the podcast. I wanted people to be able to meet you because we'll talk about you from time to time and vacation, different things like that. So, today's Ladies' Day. The next podcast, we got a couple more ladies. So we're
younger and prettier.
We're growing our female audience, and you're helping us do it,
yeah.
which is a blessing. So, anyway, love you. Glad you're on here.
Love y'all.
Thanks for listening to the Unashamed podcast. Help us out by rating us on iTunes. And don't miss an episode by subscribing on YouTube, and be sure to click that little bell to get notified about new episodes. And for even more content that you won't get anywhere else, subscribe to Blaze TV at blazetv.com/unashamed.